Okay, here we are. After my little coughing fit, then sorry about that. Back here, and I'm not even going to check my Facebook because we lost YouTube last night. I don't know what caused that, but anyway, it's the 25th of April, heading towards the end of April, and it's the week. It's nearly the weekend. Yeah, it's Friday. So there we go. Some of you may have realised that because we try to do a press release on a sort of semi-regular basis or newsletter reasonably regularly. And with this around the world race, because it's so long and a lot of it's trade wind stuff, we thought, okay, normally on the GGR and the OGR, you do a weekly press release come newsletter, but we said we'll stretch it out and it's probably going to be every 2 weeks. But because it's been pretty much more of the same and we don't have a lot of photos coming in from the entrants that are unique and different, and we're getting close to sort of wrapping up this leg, we thought we'll do it for 3 weeks. So it's just amazing how quick the 3 weeks go. So in other words, on sort of Tuesday, Wednesday or something next week, it'll be 3 weeks since the previous one. And we'll have a whole bunch of the fleet in. Hopefully I'll get to speak to some of them then and all that sort of stuff, and we'll have a bit more to say. So that's the plan. Now, if I see there's a few people lining up there, if someone would like to just tell me if they've got it on YouTube or Facebook and you can hear me and see me, that'd be good because Jane is asleep. And that's usually my fallback position. But on that quiet note, I think we're probably pretty good to go there. I'm just waiting for someone to answer just to make sure it's going to be there. Otherwise, I'll have to check my YouTube works. Fantastic. Okay, so I'm not going to touch it. So if YouTube's working, that means Facebook is absolutely working. So we'll carry on regardless. I'll pull a little bit earlier this morning, this afternoon. I mean, it's now 10 minutes past 6 here in the late afternoon. It's been an average day, blue sky, clouds, bit of everything, and it's coming up. Hopefully, you're going to have a big weekend. Okay, so tracker. Here we go. It's all getting very exciting. Always getting close towards the finish of this leg. It's actually, no, that's not quite right. The finish of this leg will actually be in Fiji. This is just a pit stop, so they're still racing all the way through. And I'm surprised. It looks like everyone's heading towards the middle island, which is Elona rather than Nuku Hiva, or the southernmost island. So we'll have to wait and see. Maybe it's a tactic from Renaud, could be, get people thinking he's going to the middle island because you have to do your advance notice by now, within a couple of days. So Tahiti crew will be lining up for the arrivals, and if they say they're going somewhere and they turn up somewhere else, it's not a good look. So that will be an interesting thing to see where everyone's going along the way. Anyway, Popeye and John are down the back here. We'll start off with them. I'll just pick it up a bit. They look as if they're a bit further apart now. Still got these very light southeasterly winds. And in fact, by the look of it, very light. So they'll probably keep it well forward of the beam, keep the apparent wind up high, and they're hardly moving. Jono's only doing 1.7 knots and did 51-mile day. So not a lot. And Mike did 49-mile day doing 3.2, so he's catching up again, getting a bit backing around. So not a huge lot of things happening there, but at least they're moving. That's the good news. I'll put the tracks on here. You can see them amongst all the bits and pieces. Current-wise, there probably won't be a lot of change. No, the current's pushing along, and that's not likely to change dramatically in the next couple of days either. Not just more of the same. And from what we saw yesterday on the wind, so we're back on the breeze. So I'll just quickly slide that along for a day. It's just swinging a little bit more around, but the strength is staying the same. And that's the 27, 28, still the same. So they've got 5, 6, 7, 8, another 3-4 days of really light stuff. So it's going to be a bit of a struggle for them to keep going up. And I'm pretty sure they'll be more than 3 weeks behind where the fleet was previously when their first guys went through, because they had everything going for them. They were making really good time, just kept charging along. It was quite amazing. So down the back end of the fleet, Gary 4.2, and 100-mile day. I'll just put it back to today's weather because you can. Oh, he's looking to see if he's got a fair bit of breeze. He is doing okay now, 4.2. When I say a fair bit, everything's relative, not compared to the normal strong trade winds, but at least there's green there, so it's at least sort of 10 knots, 100-mile day, not too bad. And Josh, 113-mile day, so Gary's still lagging behind Josh, and Josh doing 4.8, so that's okay. And then Jasmine, 4 knots and 107-mile day. So a few holes you can see there. That's a big area of very light winds that obviously went through the fleet in the last 24 hours. So that affects things. 111-mile day for Adam. So Jasmine's not hanging on there at 107, but it's only 4 miles. See how good I am at maths? 4.6 knots. So still all moving. And it looks like he caught up a bit on Jacob, but no, you might not be able to see that. I might just push it up. I don't even know what this looks like on the on a phone. Probably not very good because it's a large scale. Anyway, Jacob's doing 4.8, 116-mile day. Adam got 111. So, yeah, he's still pulling ahead there. And he's gaining on Ayrton as well. So, once again, Ayrton's doing 108 and 4.3 compared to 4.8 for Jacob. Keep it up, Jacob. You're slowly nailing him. You'll pass Ayrton by the time he gets there. So, Mark Sinclair is doing 5.1. So, it's always the way. He's only just keeping up with the 580s. Christian, 4.8, 122. So it's really interesting because I don't know whether you're seeing the same trend, but no matter what the weather is doing, if you look at the whole fleet, you'll see these guys here in the mid-fleet are always just, 3, 4, 0.4 or 0.5 of a knot slower all the time compared to the lead boats. And here, you always usually see that Christian is just a little bit better than the other guys in the mid-fleet, and now he's at the head of the mid-fleet and trying to pull away. It's really interesting. That's probably why they're in the position they're in. I know that sounds obvious, but when it's pointed out, you can actually see the trends. So yeah, 4.8 knots, 122-mile day. And we've got Eric down here doing 4.1 knots and 110-mile day. Still well and truly there. And Canadan is looking after his reputation as being in the lead group now, even though the lead group is really stretched out. 421 there. Pilar 5.5, 132. That's why they're up the front. So that's pretty cool. And Kerry is dropping back a bit, but currently doing 5.3 and 131. So 131 versus 132. So Pilar is still 1 mile in the last 24 hours faster. And Holiday Dan, 5.4 and 131-mile day. 131 from Pilar, 132. So a little bit of a difference there. And Renaud, 0 knots. So not fast and not quite as good on the 24-hour daily run from now, going backwards 24 hours either. So not sure what's going on there because I'm seeing pretty consistent weather there. Oh, jeepers, that'll set the mind racing. Why would he be doing 4 knots when Dan's doing 5.4? I haven't seen getting very few reports these days. Everyone's settled in. They've been out for a long time. So I have no idea what's going on with Kerry, whether he's having good, bad, or indifferent, but he's doing 5.3. Dan's doing 5.4. Pilar's doing 5.6 and 4 knots. And it's less daily run. Maybe there's something up there. Who knows? Maybe it's just a lack of breeze. A bit hard to say. And where's he pointing? We'll try and get specific here. Boom, boom. Yeah, still pointing there. You'd think he'd be, if he was going to Hanavava, he would have been heading down a bit. And so maybe he's going to Atuona. We'll see. Nukahiva's a fair way up the top up there, and it extends it out a bit. Anyway, that's a decision for later. So that's a run through of the fleet. Let's just decrease it and have a look at the weather for the main part of the fleet, not including Popeye and John, but we already did that. So here we go. Get that one there. Boom, boom, boom. Every few hours. So here we come through. It's reasonably good. My screen is very directional here. You might be getting better than me. So this is now on the 26th, 7 o'clock in the evening. Looks like a few holes up front, but pretty solid down the back. So from the lead part of the lead group, there's a few holes there. But the mid pack and the rear end guys, they're looking as if they've got pretty constant breeze. And then on the 27th up until right now, yeah, there's still a little bit softer, just maybe a day out from the island they may be going to, but it's hard to pick. Might be a little bit of a slowdown on the leaders. So, but it actually looks pretty good. You couldn't ask for better, really. It's nice, enjoyable sailing days. Ayrton sent me some videos, and I meant to get Jane to tack them together and show you. I might put one up after the end of this. This was from last night. He sent some little video clips all late yesterday on the conditions, which were very pleasant. We were just having a fantastic sail. So no surprises there. What about currents now? Just have a quick look. See if there's anything of an advantage. No huge advantage, but certainly no disadvantage. I'll wind it back because it's slowing anyone down. That's okay. Let's just see. I can give you an ETA on this now. I'll just push that up here to get a little bit more accurate, and I'll assume they're going to excuse me, Aluona. Okay, so Renaud from wrong one. Renaud from Aluona is boom, boom. Okay, he's currently 240, so he's only 2 days away, and so that means he could arrive in the daylight if he keeps his things happening. So it's probably I think there was 6 hours in it again. So 6 is about midday or something, or I forget now. I know they've gone further to the west, so it'll be changing again. So anyway, it still wouldn't be midday yet, I don't believe, and that means 2 days from there. So they'll get in sometime on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, sometime on Sunday. Renaud might be in and go and rush into town, and although he might not be able to clear enter, but I reckon they'd lead him ashore by then. They'll have the guff from all the radios. There's going to be plenty of people in these anchorages, I think, because there's quite a fleet of yachts transiting out into the Pacific. The guys are right in the middle of the cruising season, and so there'll be boats around, and they will have already cleared, and they'll ask around on the VHF when they get into the anchorage and so on. To get the latest news. And then the procedure for all of the other boats arriving, obviously Renaud, touch wood, looks like he's going to be first in, and then probably touch wood, Dan will be next. So they'll be in the anchorage, and as the others are approaching, even though there's no race committee there, we've maintained the standard process. When they're 100 miles out, when they're 100 miles out, the managers need to send me a message and say they're 100 miles out. Okay, and then when they get to 15 miles out, they're meant to give a radio call just on channel 69 to MGR control. And so we're not going to be there, but one of the other boats, one of the entrants might be in there, and they can pick up the call, follow the tracker, work out roughly where they are, and give them any local information they've gleaned on the way in, talking to the locals and the anchorages and so on. So the entrants themselves can help other entrants arriving, which is a pretty cool system. So not a lot more I can tell you on this one. You can see how they're stacked up. That sets their positioning. It's really nice. In the OGR, we used to have to talk about the IRC, leaders and where they are, ranked systems, because it was all handicapping under IRC. But this is a one design fleet, which is a beautiful thing. So that's it. Oh, we're going to do the video play for mate over there. So I'll try and set this up now for a video replay. Actually, we've been looking at too big a screen here. I wonder why it was so narrow. So this will take a little bit to set up because I need to, first of all, I need to get down to the replay. And then I've got to, this is like another tutorial because I've got to remember again now. If you hit this little button here, boom, you get the second track up there, which gives you your the speed at which it's going to replay. This is the fast speed right up the top here. I'm assuming you can see all this over by the plus. In fact, before I do this, I'm going to just go back and check the comments here just to make sure we're still transmitting. Yes, we are, and you should be able to see it all. So that's okay. Now I'm back here. So, hang on a sec. I'm showing the top one there. What are you showing? Oh, yeah, it's there, but you can't quite see it. It's not that obvious. So I'll try and describe it a bit more because I can't make this any bigger. So you see, if I knock this off, I've just brought it down to this is where you replay. So if I start dragging this, you'll see all the wind's going to disappear. This is currents, and it goes into a black screen. See, I'm walking them backwards now. That's walking back down the track, ready to start the replay. So I'll do 2 here. We'll just set up to do a replay here, and you'll see you've got the date and time on this. So it says 18th of April. I don't know whether you can read that. You won't see it on your phone, I'm sure. But this little third box sitting on the top gives you the current date, April the 18th, 2025. It's 19:01.57 seconds UTC. So at the position these boats have stopped at now, that's the date and time. And when I hit the play, button to start running it through, this date and time will change as well. Okay, so we can actually determine where they are at any given time. Yes, but it's going so slow you can't see it. So we crank it up. If I bring it right up here, you can see them moving really fast. Okay, and then this is the timeline going up. So there's the 21st, the 23, April the 22nd, boom, 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 and in a minute when it stops, you'll see the wind or currents pop up again when they've finished the replay. See that? So that's how it works. And now we'll go back and take you back. I'll take you back. I've got to do that. I've got to just slide it down a minute. Let's see. I don't want it to be too. No, I'll leave it where it is. Okay, that's as good as the definition we're going to get. And we'll go right back to the beginning and do a recall. It's Friday night, so we can waffle on a little bit. So I'm going to drag it all the way back. We won't be able to see the Galapagos here. So I'm just running it back. Yes, we can. There they are. There they are there. So that's pretty cool. We can rip them around here. This will be really funny. I haven't done this for such a long way. We won't get the names, and you've got to remember the colour of your favourite boats. Okay, this is probably good enough to show what's going on because this Gary set off late. They were just about to head into this zone of no wind and the current sweeping them back and everything. So I won't do it too fast. I'll bring it back slow to start with, and then we can see what's happening here. I can speed it up as we go. So I'm starting to increase the speed. I can also increase the size there, I think. Okay, so here's where they're drifting around. You're about to see Jasmine turn around. This is when the current came on. I'm assuming you can see all that. Here we go. Look at Renaud. Ooh, taking the southern route. Who's that? Someone's right there. I forget the colour. They haven't done the big return yet, so they're still heading into the zone. This is when a couple of boats. That was Pila alongside Renaud there, and now comes the big one. See, the guys going down south kept going, and then everyone else. I don't know whether you can see that, all going backwards and all over the place. It's got a bit big there. So, and there goes Gary over the top. Renaud's down the bottom, and boats have now got a bit of breeze. A couple of them looking to go through the islands. That was Ayrton there on tracker stopping. I'll speed this up when we get down the corner, but you can see there goes Kristen into the island. You got to see the hospital, do the bits. Someone came very close to an island there. They're supposed to be 12 miles away. That was the plan. Anyway, so now we've got this. I'm going to slide it down so I can speed it up a little bit. For those that are getting completely bored, Gary's run out of breeze up the top there. So I'm going to click and drag this little white button there, which will speed it up now. So we're on the race, on the chase. Funny, eh? Okay, so you got Renaud, you got Kerry on top of Dan. Kerry and Dan having to go down here, and then we've got Josh stopping. He ran out of breeze. Gary's having trouble up the top there. Christian's catching up to everyone fast. Look, I could do a commentary. I forget their bloody colours. Not quite, but anyway. Holiday Dan's down here in the yellow. Not Holiday, the Canadan. He's starting to pull away from the mid pack, trying to catch up to the other ones. And Jacob down the back here, he was beside Jasmine, but he's going to slowly start pushing through the fleet in a minute. I hope that's big enough to see. I've got to keep moving this around to get to it. We must be getting close to. Here we go. Boom, boom. Oh, they're rolling across there, streaming across. So here comes Jacob taking over Adam. Oh, he's up with Adam, but Adam got him ahead of him again, maybe. Side by side. Anyway, Renaud streaming away. Dan's chasing. Kerry's lost out down the bottom down here. Peeler's still hanging in there, going for it. And here comes Canadan. Look at him go. I think he's got out Holiday Dan in his sights. He wants to prove the point that Canadan is better than Aussie Dan. Ooh, jeepers. Okay, that's it. So you've seen the video replay, but that's kind of fun. You can play that back anytime. It's very interesting. It's the same with if you go to leg one, you can replay leg one. That all stays up there. And the same with the Transat. If you go over the Globe 580 Transat website, you can just go to the tracker and it stays there, historic data, including all our other events, the OGR and the GGR. It's amazing. When I went down to the La Rochelle Maritime Museum yesterday, meeting down there and doing stuff, I saw quite a few people. They're all kind of saying, how's the MGR going? Quite a few sailors are watching the MGR, watching the tracker and so on. It's cool. It's quite fun. Okay, that's enough there for now. So if I come back here, I can pop up and just see your questions maybe. Yep, back in. Okay, so that was the tracker for today. I'll slide this back and say g'day. Yeah, thanks for the heads up, Warren. The old sailmaker. Okay, that's a good one. I'm not proud. So I'm going to have to write down all these handles and go and see who you are, because there's some funny names there. Anyway, you're probably a 22-year-old guy. Whatever. John, yes, on Facebook. Cool, thanks for that. Good day. All right. Warren, any more than weekly press reports would be too long. Yeah, absolutely. Especially with pit stops every 4 weeks. It all varies. But anyway, yeah, so we've set the routine that if there's things happening, it'll come out every 2 weeks. This is the press release come subscribers newsletter. And in fact, there's a difference there as well. Most of our press releases are just to tell the press what's going on if they're interested. But you'll notice a difference. If there's some big news, the press release will be structured a little bit differently, a lot more punchy and more precise, and not as much sort of blurb, just to get the news out there if it's for press. But the other way, it's like a newsletter. We get quite a few people saying, "Hey, geez, I really like your newsletters, all the photos and all the links and bits and pieces." So some people probably hate it, no doubt. Some people don't open it and just let it go boom. But we've got about 18,000 people on the mailing list for our adventure events, which is kind of cool. So thanks for following and thanks for all your support, and keep liking and sharing and subscribing and put the bell on and all that sort of stuff. Thank you for your patrons. Not just joking. We don't have any patrons. We don't do GoFundMes or anything like that. We just have fun. So thanks for following along. Phone view. I zoom in on YouTube, but no zoom on Facebook. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, so that'd be pretty tough watching this on a phone. It'd be very small. But if you can get on your PC when you do the big numbers, it's quite cool. That's old-fashioned stuff, I know. Some people even think Facebook's old-fashioned, but it's a very good format for us, and YouTube's cool as well. So um, thanks for that. In fact, I'll go on to I don't forget to go and answer the questions on. Obviously I see the questions that you're putting here from YouTube, but then after they're up there, we usually get, when I turn off of here, we probably got about maybe 200 people that have a look at it. But usually within a day or so, we get on average between 600 and 1,000 people or something like that watch it, and they'll put comments there as well. And I like to read the comments, but sometimes I don't get back to YouTube until 2 or 3 days later, and I'll try and answer any questions I see there then. So that's how it goes. In fact, talking YouTube, anyway, it's the weekend. Boom. Has anybody announced which port of entry they are entering in Marquesas? No, they haven't. And I don't ask them either. I'm not looking, because that could be a tactical thing on what they want to do. But some people are going around for fun and they'll have an idea. Those middle islands, they talk about, I forget the name of it now, but that anchorage in the middle island is supposed to be off the planet. Most people go to Nukuhiva. There's more support facilities there, but we'll just wait and see. There's different. They'll all have a choice. But as I was saying in the coverage, then they need to. I forget what the cutoff is for Marquesas. Tahiti crew will be working with them to do all their advance notice and provide all the information. They've got to do a lot of stuff. They've got to fill out forms for Africa, and some of them, depending on their nationality, have to put up a bond to make sure they're going to leave the country. Others, sometimes it's either that or a return airfare. But most of the passports are okay. They just go through, do all the usual bits. Anyway, we'll wait and see. I'm sure they'll have some stories with that. So, Marek, the speeds you are referring to are speeds measured at 1600 UTC. The leaderboard shows average speed for the last 4 hours, I guess. Well, in actual fact, the speeds that they do for, the speed that you see in the data box that comes up, it's just the last 4 hours, okay? And then at 1600, when this one comes up, the 12-hour run goes back from 1600. But if I were doing it at 1200 hours, it's 1200 hours back to the previous 1200 hours. So it's always reading 24 hours back from that current speed. So it's not like traditional navigation when you talk about noon to noon. It used to always be noon to noon. But this is going every, back from the latest position grab on the tracker. The other thing is that there is a little bit of reference to vector made good, or velocity made good, in relation to the run line and towards the finish line. Okay, and even though there's no finish, there is a waypoint which turns, and you can see it's in the middle of the Marquesa Islands, and so it's speed measured heading towards the waypoint. So if the waypoint's there and the boat's going exactly for it, then it's easy. But if they're tacking down, they've got to tack down. It's only measuring their vector towards the finish, or the waypoint. So you can see it's a little bit distorted, but it's not too bad. In fact, I was measuring off the distance this morning on something else I had going on, and I noticed, in fact, I was trying to do the ETAs up to Recife of all places, because we're just talking to Recife about the stop over there, and we're talking to Cape Town, and we're talking to Durban, and all that sort of stuff. And we made a bit of a mistake on the next one, because we say in the notice of race, it doesn't matter, it's not tactical, but on working out the approximate voyage plans, for some reason we're saying it's 500 miles from the Marquesas to Papeete. It's actually more like about 750. So it's a little bit longer than we thought. And it's quite challenging, that one, because they're going to have to go through the Tuamotus, which is lots of little reefs and atolls and islands everywhere. So, and there's just little gaps between them. So they're going to have to be a little bit aware of what's going on, but the weather should be good. Like trade winds again, like you've seen now, and things like that. But they'll certainly have to be. They're sailing under wind vane, and you're going through these islands. You don't want to be under wind vane and go to sleep if you're less than 15 miles or so from land, because if you're doing 5 knots, only 3 hours, and if you oversleep, you could have a problem. but they have to have under the notice of race a very loud alarm clock. I think we say 75 decibel for the MGR. It's 100 decibels in the GGR because we've nearly had some boats just park onto the bricks. We did have one boat already park on the bricks, but we had two or three others that had some close calls as well. So anyway, I hope that answers your question, Merritt. Commissioner did 4 knots at 1600, but the 4-hour average is 5 knots. Oh, that's interesting. You might be onto something that I'm not. Is that must be off the leaderboard, but that might be the I'm not sure what that is. I'm not sure what you're referring to there, but you made me thinking that it's okay. The speeds you're referring to, the speeds measures UTC. The leaderboard shows average speeds for the last 4 hours. I guess that's exactly right. The average speed for the last 4 hours. That's all of the. Oh, that's average victim. I'm not sure. I'll have to have a look. It's funny, I've been dealing with the YB system for 5 major events, and there's still some things that I don't totally utilise or use, to make all these comparisons and everything. But I'll go and have a look after this and see what's going on there. Tony, don't miss offset the leading pack have Hydrovane links, with the exception of Kerry. Yeah, that's a whole point of discussion. Renaud wanted me to remove the fact that the link on the Hydrovane joining the two rudders together provides a performance advantage, and I'd hate to say it, but it absolutely provides a performance advantage. But it's not the reason that necessarily that Renaud's in the lead. There's so many other factors involved with that. We don't need to go down that track. We're not saying, the only reason Renaud is in the lead and Dan is doing so well is because of the link. Dan told me that when we announced this, he said, he hasn't even joined the link in the last 4 days. The past 4 days, he hadn't actually had them linked together. It was independent. The reality is that, there is, we know for a fact there is a performance advantage potential by linking the rudders, which is part of the reason all this evolved, and it took a while to become aware of it because we've got a lot going on and stuff like that. And Kerry's got his own challenges because I haven't had any reports from Kerry's managers. We've got the safety check, he contacts his manager every day, all that stuff, but we haven't seen anything he's up to and what he's doing. But yes, he's sailing with a South Atlantic, which in conjunction with the manufacturer of the South Atlantic, he's had big discussions with him. Kerry's quite a cluey sailor. He's got a depth of knowledge even about naval architecture and all sorts of things. So he's made his own modifications to the South Atlantic, and in a few little ways, and it seemed to be performing really well. So he's okay with that. He thought about fitting a Hydrovane, but budgets come into everything. Every decision every sailor makes on the 580s is driven by or affected by different factors, and budget is one of them. Peeler was challenged on a lot of things, and no one's got unlimited budget, and that's part of the game with the 580. We try and keep it across the board. So Kerry did think about a Hydrovane at one point, but he's gone with the South Atlantic, and one of the reasons he's gone with the South Atlantic is because of the weight, right? Which is another factor, because the Hydrovane is really heavy, and Kerry's absolutely freaked out on weight. Right? He's the funniest one was sending his shoes home. He's got no shoes on the boat. He just everything that if it doesn't need it on the boat, it's not there. Boom, go. If you need shoes when he gets to the next spot, you'll buy some. I don't know how many clothes he's got on board, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's absolute minimum. So weight, having a big Hydrovane hanging off the back, he'd rather go for the lighter weight South Atlantic. I'm not hearing anything in the negative at all from Eric. He's got the South Atlantic. Josh has got the South Atlantic, and I'm not hearing any negative reports from there. They're all ticking over fine. Adam has got the South Atlantic, so they'll keep going. You got to keep an eye on them, keep doing up the nuts and bolts, make sure nothing's coming loose. But they're lightweight. Really, they're like a quarter the cost of a Hydrovane, literally 25%. As you get it, if you're a 580s skipper, we get a special deal with the South Atlantic, and I forget what the GGR, it's critical. And in this one, it's very important because, yes, you can fix it up in between the legs, but when you've got these big, long legs, there's not a lot you got to do, And if your electrical autopilot's down as well, you've got to hand steer all the way. And if you lose both and you have to hand steer and sleep, it's a big problem because people will talk about sheep to tiller, and I've played around with that in the past, and it's an ugly thing when you're in a fin keel boat that's quite fast, right? It's a bit easier when you're in a full keeled boat, um, or if if you can, but you've got to really balance the sails, and it's very tricky. It depends. Downwind, it's really hard. If you're going upwind, it's a lot easier, and you can actually with the 580, it's very easy to balance the sails, tie the tiller, and the boat will sail itself. It's quite okay, and even probably close reaching, and even on the beam. But as soon as it starts to get behind the beam, it gets a bit challenging, and you've got to start using shock cord and all sorts of things. But it's still a long way around the world. There's still a long way to go. Anyway, I got sidetracked there, but that's some of the things that are happening there. But we didn't, suffice to say, we didn't change the statement on why we did it, what we did, because there is no question it has a performance advantage and so on, but it has nothing to do with the skipper. The ones that are in the front are obviously sailing pretty well. So it would be fun to watch this with the skippers in Fiji and get their commentary of what's happening. Yeah. They can do that. That's one of the fun parts. We produce through by default because it's kind of nice to come on, even though there's not much happening here. This is pretty boring tracker stuff. And in fact, so the tracker updates we do on the Ocean Globe race and the Gold Globe race are completely different. They're really quite interesting. The amount of weather that's involved and where the boats are and what's happening, it's completely different. This is blasting across the trade winds, which could be said to be a bit boring. But the difference here is that we've got the Q&A sessions that we've got now become very interesting, right? Someone wants to know what's going on. I think there's probably a lot of people don't realise what's happening and they don't see it's live because I'm not coming on at a set time, so people don't know when I'm coming up, which is a bit boring for them. But certainly the questions at the back are the unique part about this one. I don't do this really. We haven't really done this for the GGR ever, and we were doing a little bit of it for the OGR towards the end. But for MGR, it's become a thing. It's what you do. You do your tracker and then you answer the questions. So it's quite cool, and it makes it. This is very much a unique aspect for the MGR for those that want to know, what's going on, or pass comment, or just have a chat. So yes, all the entrants in the GGR and OGR, anytime they can go back and look at any day of the race if they remember something, because they can't see it while they're out there because they don't have Starlink, but they can go back and relive it, which is good for them. Some good history. Be interested to see what is the maximum surfing speed on each boat daily. Oh, jeepers, it'd get a bit tricky. It'd get boring if you had it every day. But they can, she gets along. But yeah, I don't know how we'd do that. It's a bit of a big ask, that one, but it would be interesting. Not on average, but maximum speed thrills. Ooh, jeepers. Yeah. We sort of keep an unofficial record. We should have written it down. I think we've seen some 16 knots and 17 knots and so on. Maybe not in this one, but it can get a move on if you have a big surf. So, the old sailmaker is an old sailmaker. So, but you could still be like 40. No, I suppose you can't. No. Anyway, well, that's good to have you here, old sailmaker. Good on you. We were all using one design sails or quantum sails. We put a tender out there for sailmakers. We had about 8. I think it was about 10 different sailmakers apply to become the official supplier, and now everyone's got it. Everyone's got quantum, and we're pretty happy with what's there. So that's good. You know what ETA Josh is? No, I haven't that yet. And Gary Swindle have before. Hang on. You know what ETA Josh Carley Ocean Racing and Gary Swindle have before the Marquises? I can work it out quickly. It won't take long. I'm just going to, I'll just bang you over. Just stand by, everybody. We're just going to take a quick trip back. So you want to know a rough ETA for Gary and roughly, boom, boom, he's 1,200 miles. So, well, you could say roughly 10 days. So if he does 110 miles a day, he's going to be 10 days. So if he does a 100-mile day, you can add on another day. So about 10 days. And Gary, so you've got 10 days for Josh, and Gary is 100. So you can say if Josh is on 10 days, Gary's on 11 and a half or 12. So, but because he won't be doing 110 every day, I would say Josh is going to be 11 days and Gary will be 13 days from today, something like that. But that's the easiest way. So, hope that helps. Okay, we're just about done. When are the races going to hit the emotional doldrums? They've already been through. They went through the doldrums coming down towards the Galapagos. So they're out of it. It's amazing. This has been a really quick trip, a lot faster than we all geared up for, mainly because if you get it could have been, we were saying it could have gone to 50 days or something, or more. 50, some boats have drifted across forever. So they went through the doldrums pretty quick. They had a few days there, 2 or 3 days, they weren't going anywhere. Everyone calmed and stuff, and then they had some slow days, but generally, cheap as they're flying. So that's pretty cool. When will they be mentally at their lowest? Which leg? That's an interesting point. I really think they're into a routine. I can see a couple of them have been a bit down at times because this is a long leg. You're a long way, but now they're really settled into it, and I reckon from now, once they get to Marquesas, everything becomes a bit of fun, where they'll regroup, they'll chat, they'll talk about their things, and they'll all be thinking, "Hey, this is amazing. We've bloody just crossed. Well, what have we got? We've got 3,000 across the Atlantic, 3, and then another, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They will have done like 8,000 miles and been out for months. So they're well and truly in the groove. They'll be starting to watch their boats because maintenance is everything, and things can start to fail. Right? Adam's had a couple of little things break again on fittings on the bowsprit bits, but they'll all be watching their gear now. Because it's going to start to get arduous, and they're only not even a third the way around. No, not even a third the way around. By the time they get to Fiji, they're a bit over 1/3. So not quite half. So they're in the groove, and to find their low points, real low points will come from when things are going wrong. That's what I find anyway, when you realise everything's at stake or something like that. But everyone's different. They're all coming into it from different backgrounds, different professions, different reasons for being there. So it's very hard to predict. They'll all have a different tolerance level, and they'll all what appeals to one. Like some might be thinking, "Oh, I'm so looking forward to Fiji because I'm going to see the family." Others won't have family coming to Fiji, or some will be. Most have got Starling. That opens up a whole different level of missing people. Some people might be getting bored. It's possible. It's quite easy to get bored when you're out there if everything's going well and the weather's constant day after day and things like that. So it varies. So I can't predict it too well, but I think you'll find some getting anxious. They'll go through this stage where they're in the groove, they're all afleet, they're heading along. It's just more the same. It can be quite tough getting from Papeete to Tonga. That leg has got a reputation of potentially throwing up curveballs. You can get some storms in there, and you can get some very uncomfortable seas, and it's a tricky one, that one. And then after that, it's not so bad. Get across the top of Australia, and then they'll all be, looking forward to Cocos and things like that. But then they'll all take a deep breath because you're going down in the Southern Ocean. There's no two ways about it. It's going to get colder, it's going to get nastier, and things like that. So it'll be a roller coaster, and I can't pick it. So that was a long answer that didn't answer your question very well, but they've certainly passed. They will have settled in. They're all ocean voyagers. They're all sailing solo around the world. They should feel pretty comfortable and sort of proud within themselves, satisfied that they're doing it. But now they've got to continue doing it, right? It's sort of a funny one. Anyway, enough of that one. So thanks for the question. That was hit the emotional doldrums, not the doldrums. Yeah, that'll follow them all the way can pop up anytime. Okay. The difference here is the boats are close together. Unlike the GGR, the OGR were well spread out. This is a lot more racy. Yeah, it's true. You can't beat one design. One design is great. And, yes, some boats are heavier than others and some boats are focused on different things. But, yes, one design is the way to go. It's all about getting rid of the arms race, so you're not spending ridiculous amounts of money to try and get a little bit of a performance advantage. And I think generally the 580 is working like that, as does all the other one design fleets. We're a bit loose on one design, but generally it's a one design fleet, in a sensible way because they're all amateur built boats. So all is good. Okay, that's about it. So we'll see you tomorrow, which is Saturday. And funny thing here, and that's what I was going to say before about I was looking at YouTube. I did the BOC, the Solo Around the World race back in 1990, and there's a film I did on it called McIntyre Knockdown. It's on the McIntyre Adventure YouTube channel. You can see them all there. And I was just bumped into it the other day. It popped up on the index on the side. It's got about 360,000 views or 390,000 views, but it's been there a long time. But there's then I just checked on something, and I checked. There's another one there called what do we call it? Teddy Bears to Antarctica or something or other, which is fantastic. It's my first trip to Antarctica. It's only got like 1,200 views. And I thought, huh? So if you get bored over the weekend and you want to go and see something, what did I call it? I can't remember what I call it now. It was when I went to Antarctica the first time in '93 with 200 teddy bears. It's just a great film. A bit blurry now because it's a long time ago. But anyway, I digress. So have a good weekend, and we'll probably see you tomorrow. So thanks for that.
Witness history in the making. The McIntyre Mini Globe Race 2025. Small boat, huge adventure.